Yeah, for real.
Roll
Let's
your own
just go ahead and
cigarettes.
roll. That's what
Okay.
all the hipsters do.
All right, man. So I really wanted to get you in here so we could talk to you about this thing that's really a hot topic right now, which is this idea of bundle deals and how it plays into the music industry right now. You know, it's something that I think we've noticed has been around for a while, but I think, artists like Tekashi are really bringing it to the forefront and really, exposing this practice that isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's also not necessarily the best thing, I think, for bigger artists. But I wanted to get your opinion. So the first thing I wanted to ask you is, as a law student, what is your opinion on bundle deals?
So when you say like as a law student, I feel like you're asking for more of my like my business. I'm gonna go first as a business person
Okay.
because as a business person, like let's say as a music executive, and I mean I got no problem with bundles. Actually, I think that it's good business. And you see that in any business. Stop by our store today. When you pick up three of these, you get one of these for free. You know what I mean? It's just a deal. It's a sale. It's how you get people in the door. And you get people in the door is to then get them to realize, like, wait, I didn't even know I needed that. And oh shoot, I didn't know I need that. But now that I know about it, I have to have it. Like you have to sell things. And so I think if you're just talking about a moneyed perspective, and getting the artist paid and making, more on the back end, I think bundle deals are a good deal. And basically, what a bundle deal is, I know we know about it, but for those who don't fully get the bundle deal, you are saying, hey, come buy a ticket to my tour, or hey, come buy this sweatshirt, and you get a free album when you do so. And when you get that free album, the artist gets, even if not necessarily more money for that album, they get that album listed as a sale. And so at the end of the week, when Billboard comes back to report sales and make their chart, your album is going to have more sales attached to it, even though the kind of sneaky way of it is that the fans don't always necessarily know or give a fuck that the album is coming. Like, do you really care if they send some zip file to you with an album in it if you're really on Spotify? Um, so I guess business wise, I think it's a dope way to package things. And furthermore, branding, it's a great way to brand. And we care about brands. You know what I mean? I think it was Lil Peep, RP, who said that, rappers are kind of like pro wrestlers. You have to have a character. You got to dress to match your character, your mannerisms, your words. So if you're a rapper like a Wiz Khalifa or something, and you have such a great brand in weed, like why it makes perfect sense to say, oh hey, come buy my new Khalifa Kush, and when you do, you get my new album too. So that type of stuff makes a lot of sense. I think where you start to get a little iffy with it is when it doesn't make sense. And now I'll slide into like the lawyer role more, because I think disclosure is a big deal. I think people should know that they're picking up an album with this purchase, and oftentimes they don't. So you see things like the Kylie Jenner like lip kits being merged with Travis Scott
Mm.
concert sales and album deals, like their husband and wife, or they were at the time, or whatever they were. But other than that, as far as Travis Scott's album brand goes, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. And I don't think people at the time that they were doing it were conscious of that. That's one thing you said. Like it's been going on, but we're having this conversation now. I mean, in part thanks to Takashi, but because people are becoming aware of the hustle that's always been going on. And
Hmm.
so if you're becoming aware of it, that means that you weren't, that means some information was hidden. So that's where it's a little weird. And the other thing on the legal basis of it is how do we split that money in the contract now,
Mm.
you know? And does the money that you make, listen, when you drop an album, you have to recoup. you have to sell a certain amount to make it back. And when you have streams, those may not be real physical album sales, but those are worth real physical money. When you do a bundle deal, the fan paid for a sweatshirt, they paid for a concert. So technically, you gave them that album for free. Now, legally on the back end, how does that affect the artist? Does the label take a percent? Does the label count the whole thing as an album sale and thus says, hey, now we get a percentage of your t-shirt or concert sale? And does that mean that your t-shirt or concert sales get to count against you recouping? That I could see a label screwing you both ways. Hey, we're going to take a chunk of everything, but actually only strict album sales count towards recouping. I wouldn't be surprised to see some contracts drawn up like that. And then furthermore, if you're someone who is the brand, the brand is your own. Kendrick Lamar's real name is Kendrick Lamar, as far as I know. So if that's like your real name, then and you're putting your name on a shirt. Back in the day before the 360, you were free to do that. But now your name's on a shirt. And if the label owns the shirt, do they own your name too? In a lot of cases, the answer is actually yes. Like other people have the rights to your likeness. And the more you mix the music with your other business, being your tour sales and this, that, and the third, more that muddies the waters more to me. And I think maybe the 360 deal has simplified it and they just say, hey, we're taking a cut of everything. But I would like to see, I'm sure some bigger acts have, they have their lawyers and they have the leverage to get things diced up in an appealing way to them. So I would love to see some of these contracts. So I guess that's my business take on it, which is it's good, bundle it all up, sell more. And then my legal take on it is seems like it can get kind of shady on the backside.
Definitely. And so obviously you rap, if you care to
Brother
give your
Dan,
name as a rapper.
Brother Dan, Brother Daniel.
And you're putting out an album,
An
I think
album
within the
called
next
Fall
year,
River.
right?
Oh yeah, most likely by the end of this year. We're going for that fourth quarter drop. They say you don't release during the holidays. They say you don't release during the fourth quarter, but I say the champions want the ball in their hand when the clock is running out. And I say that motherfuckers like Kobe balled out in the fourth quarter. So
It's not over till the fourth quarter,
You know what I
We
mean?
damn sure know that. We damn sure know that's true. So I guess from my side, I'm saying, I've obviously known you for a long time, and I know, we both are very passionate about music. We've done music together. We still do music together. And so as a rapper, as somebody who's very passionate about music, maybe you didn't come into it necessarily for the business side of it, but as you get further in the rap game, you realize it's very much a business game. And so what I'm trying to say is, like, as a rapper, especially as a rapper trying to come up, trying to make a name for yourself, do you feel like these bundle deals put you at a disadvantage and kind of make the playing field even harder than before, where it was, these people had backings from labels, they had, people promoting their stuff, and they had, managers. That was one aspect. But then now we also have this side of bundle deals, which, an artist that's already big can reach even more people and reach a higher demographic of people. And so how do you feel about that as a rapper in terms of your chances and in terms of the authenticity of the music nowadays? How do you think that all ties in?
So I'm gonna dissect it again, and I'm gonna give a couple different types of artists. The first artist I'm gonna give to you is the 12-year-old kid, who just wants to kind of be his favorite rapper and has like a good spit, and he wants to just, he thinks go record, put it out, and they're gonna come. And that's the kid who just doesn't know shit about the industry. And we were those kids for a long time. That being that kid for so long and having had my career stalled, or any chance I had at a career stalling because of that, is what made me so interested in learning the other side of the industry, from the business and legal side, because I wanted to at least be able to have the power to maybe help someone else along. If you're that kid, then yes, these deals suck, because you're out here thinking that a motherfucker really sold 400,000 units. And if you're that kid, you're still thinking in the terms of the 90s, like, or the early 2000s, like you really sold 400,000 discs, 400,000 individual people went and bought your shit and care about your shit. And that is just not the way that the industry is today. But the powers that be, benefit from keeping so many of us under that ruse.
Mm,
Oh, he sold this. That means he's that popular. That means he's that cool, which means I will then follow him more, which means I'm more likely to buy his next thing, listen to his next thing, buy the next product that he is featured in a commercial in, yada, yada, yada. So if you're not aware of that game, which a lot of us aren't, well then yes, that gets almost into that legal bit before where it's kind of shady because you're projecting this image on people. Now, if you're not that kid and you're actually kind of in the game, then again, it goes back to like that business perspective, which is, hey, we're all here to try to make money. And I
mm,
think if you're, a kind of a business minded hustler mentality, which I think you have to be to make it in such a cutthroat industry, then you've already at least intuitively kind of figured it out. You've at least already intuitively, hey, buy two, get one free,
mm-hmm,
And so I think learning the formality aspect of it can only serve to help you because you probably already were selling some merch or something, and now you figure out how to make that merch also be an album sale for you. I think that is pretty cool. As an artist, I think even some artists who are in the game though are still that kid. In a lot of
mm,
us, in a lot of ways, a lot of us are. Even when you learn something, you don't really always want to believe it. Like
mm-hmm,
you might know, but you kind of push it to the back of your head, and that lets us all be in this little bit of a rat race. We're
mm,
all trying to like be Drake or be Taylor Swift. And it's like, even Taylor Swift isn't Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift actually sold maybe 1/3 of the albums that are listed on Billboard. And the other 2/3 were a mix of, well, maybe she sold a half, and the other half was, bundle deals and whatnot, but it makes everyone look like a bigger deal. And to an extent, I mean, you can't complain about it because that is the game we're in. But I just think that the least we can do is be a little bit more open and a little bit, have a little bit more disclosure about that. And maybe it would help things, but maybe that's my opinion because of the seat I'm in. And maybe once you get on that other side and you're responsible for moving those units,
mm-hmm,
I could see how, just as any human, that would make you start to think a little bit differently and
mm.
feel a little bit differently. I'm sure, if you're a businessman, that the bundles are just a really good business deal.
And so what do you think about, this whole bundle idea? Obviously, when we're kids, we think, artists are just supposed to be artists, right? And so I think what we're learning now is that, as much as artists are artists, the best artists are really good businessmen, right?
Mm,
Because they're able to market themselves a certain way and they're able to deliver a product that goes along with their music and makes people feel a certain way. And so I think my question to you is that do you think that it's taking away, maybe you did answer this, but do you think that it's taking away
mm,
from the game to have people that maybe don't have the art at heart and the music at heart and are coming from a business side and are saying, okay, well, I can be a rapper because I know how to market and I know how to present
mm.
myself as this. How do you think that affects the culture and the art, and do you think it has already affected the culture and art?
Yeah, I think it has, but I think it's been doing that in its own way since P. Diddy got on the block. You know what I mean? Gunshot sounds, boom. Because a P. Diddy or even, ASAP Rocky, as much as I love him and he has a great cadence, there are things that he musically is super talented about. I feel like what made him so great so much more was that brand.
Mm,
Um, so of course I mean, it's a music business.
right.
So You will always have the dude who is a little bit more the business and the dude who's more pure music and the artiste. I think, again, where you get to the shady side of these bundle deals, though, is it makes you look like something you're not.
Mm.
And like, what really is the point of being on Billboard? Why do we care who sold the most records? One, because they probably then also made the most money. Okay. But not everyone cares about money. We all do care about music. When you sell the most records, it's supposed to mean that you have the best music. Implicitly, like that is what we're all trying. I am the best artist. I'm the top of the game, yada yada. So that is the real fugazi because the money is the money, and I think we're all okay with saying, "Hey, man, go get your money." But these people also looking like they're the top or the best artist in the
Yeah.
game because you're the most selling. And I think if we saw everyone's real numbers, you would see that's not the case. What I would want to see is just break the chart down a little bit more. You can list everyone in the conglomerate with the total count, but then you should also have little categories. Like when you go on Billboard and you look at that chart, it'll tell you the song. Then to the left, it'll have a green or a red to tell you if it moved up or down since last week. Over on the other side, it's going to have a number. That's the number of weeks that it's been on the. There's other side information besides just the chart. So
Mm.
they could also put a little block there on the bottom right hand corner. They don't even have to put it in the big font. And they could have 3 units. One, how many actual sales did this song make? Two, how many digital streams? And then three, how many bundles? And I say sales like that's actual downloads because some people still actually do get the CD or the download or whatever. And then the bundles is actually all that other stuff. And I think that would be a more clean and more direct way of having this conversation. And that's, Tekashi is kind of like when Trump started to talk shit about TikTok. And I was put in a weird position where now someone who I don't like is saying things that are bad about someone else who I don't like. And I'm like, damn, does this now make us on the same side? Like, I don't want to be on your side. That's
Mhm.
how I felt because fuck TikTok, but damn, wish it could have been Obama who came out against it instead.
Mhm.
But again, like 6ix9ine, fuck him and his whole deal. But then he, with his very loud demeanor, has done a good job of bringing attention to this shit.
Mhm.
So credit where credit's due. Because yeah, I mean, to an extent, he does seem pretty blackballed. Maybe that's also just a marketing campaign, but to be the hey, I'm blackballed guy. But yeah, I mean, for someone who's blackballed, I still see his name everywhere.
And I think it's rather interesting with his case because he made it so the thing that's funny about Tekashi is he made it such a big deal to be on Billboard, right? He put himself on this pedestal that he was unable to
Mm,
not be number one on Billboard, right? That was his whole thing. And the irony of it is that it's backfiring on him because all his credentials and all his relevancy that came from those Billboard number ones, now he's saying, oh, like actually it doesn't matter. And this is all like fugazi and this is all just a
mm-hmm,
ploy. But it's like, but it was working for you when you were
mm-hmm.
getting number ones and you were, doing fine. So it's an interesting thing because it's he's giving it weight, but he's not giving it weight, It's just interesting to
Yeah,
see.
I think that's identity politics, which is subconsciously you just sway in the way that actually more represents who you are. And
Mm.
again, that's like, why do we care about these charts? Because best selling music is supposed to be the best music. So
And we can
you
all
might,
agree that when he was getting those number ones, it wasn't the best music out.
no, but it made him have a claim to a throne. You
Right.
know, you always got the guy who is the artiste. I see this almost like the Nas Jay-Z, right? Jay-Z is the best of the music business.
Mm-hmm.
Nas might be the best of the music. So he is the artiste. Even if he can never, hold a candle to Jay-Z in sales, he'll always be able to say, hey, but my music is the shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Jay-Z will always be able to say, hey, my sales are the shit. Tekashi never was in the position to say, hey, my music is the shit. He was never, I mean, I fucks with Gummo, and I liked when he did more of the screaming shit. I thought that was at least unique. I like him screaming more than I like Meek Mill screaming. So there you go. Meek Mill has a career. But let's be honest, he was never like a great artist that a lot of people were going to love for his music. But he used to be able to say, hey, I got the best selling shit. Now he can't say that anymore. So you see, the argument has just become a smaller window now. Not about having the best selling shit. It's about saying all that other shit that these people sold doesn't count. When you zoom in on who really has fans buying sales, I'm number one there now. So that's what he's just trying to say. It's all about controlling the scope of the argument. We're not talking about who's got the best music. We're not talking about who's got the best sales. Now we're just gonna have a little conversation about who has the most cult following of, kids who actually go out and buy their shit and their whatever. And I mean, listen, that's a good point to have, because despite Tekashi being Tekashi, it's important for people to know that you don't need to be the Drake or the big Sean or the big selling. You could have a few thousand, maybe 10, 20,000 dedicated fans, and you can release something, and that will be more than enough to make you six figures to maybe seven figures in a year. You can be a quality act on a smaller level if you have a good business mind state and you know how to say, hey, come get this album and then also get this shirt for then half off and then also then get a little discount to my concert. And you can make people, you can get the person who comes into your store for one thing and then gets three more things. So that little bit of the argument that he's saying is true. So let's give credit where credit's due.
Mm.
But then we can all have a big laugh because all of that unfortunately gets lost in a pool of bullshit and like shitty wigs.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
shitty
And,
rainbow colored wigs.
and I
Look
think
like
it's,
they
it's
were
a good
from.
point you're saying between the businessman and the artiste. I think that,
Mm,
certain people, clearly every artist wants to make a living, right? But not, I think if you're a pure artiste, not every artist wants to be a Jay-Z, not every artist wants to own record labels and do all
mhm.
that. They just want to leave a legacy. And so I guess my next question for you is, let's say like somebody like Drake, right? Drake is arguably one of the greatest artists of our generation. And you can argue that his music is maybe not your taste or whatnot, but he clearly has a formula for why he's been able to stay on top for so long. And so I'm not sure if this is true, but I don't know if Drake does bundles. But like an artist like, we're not talking about the rap game anymore. Like artists like Ariana Grande, right? Or Justin Bieber. These
Mhm.
people have already established themselves as artists, obviously very talented. And do you think those artists really need to do the bundle deals? Do you think they really need to do that stuff in order to boost their sales? Or do you think it's really the label that's saying, you need to do this? And they might not even know this is going on, but it's just something that, makes the label money. So they're pushing it on them.
I think the answer to both of those is yes. But before that, I'm gonna backtrack real quick because yeah, to like finish out something I was just saying on that last point, like, and then you added to it and said, yes, not every artist wants to be a Jay-Z and do all this business stuff. Yeah, not even just every artist, but not every person wants to live super lavish and have all that shit. A lot of people just want to have their little slice of the pie and be able to live a good life and do something that they love, which makes you blessed.
Mm-hmm.
And for that person who's like a normal person, but that thing that they love is music, it's like, how great would it be if music was like any other trade and you could find a way to apply it and just get a steady income from doing your music? Like, that would be great. Like, what if more people knew that they could be, a sound engineer and actually have like a steady salary or something like that? I mean, that would be great. Or if you just want to be like your own a songwriter and be able to do that, if we had more lanes for people
Yeah.
to be able to do that. But now to bring it back to the question though, if you are a Drake or Ariana Grande or something, then yes, you do need to do that. those are the trappings of the fame. Those are the,
Mm.
that's the game you play. If you want to be at the top of that game, you better be doing all the things right. You know what I mean? You have to go to those parties and get your face seen. You have to be on the radios and do that. And then you better have the big sales. And if you need the big sales, that means you got to do what it takes to get the big sales. You need the big feature, the big single, and you probably gonna bundle that shit. And even though I haven't heard of Drake doing a bundle, I'm sure he has, because it seems like everyone at the top, those are the names that keep coming up. The Travis Scotts, the Ariana Grandes, the Taylor Swifts. Like I've definitely heard all those names keep coming up when you talk about bundles. And that's
Mm.
probably, you know, in his heart of hearts, that's what Tekashi is probably salty about, because he was that kid and he probably wanted to be all popular and he wanted to be the top guy. He's just never gonna have a chance to do it now. And
Mm.
his image got ruined. That whole gangster image got exposed, and now he can't even like move amongst the corporate people really. You can't move amongst your peoples, and now you can't move amongst the corporate peoples. They blackballed you too. He's sitting there all salty and pissed, like damn, fuck them. But at the same time, dude, I'm sure it was all worth it for him in a way, like
Yeah.
in a fucked up way. I mean, for someone, yeah, for somebody like that,
Yeah.
if your priorities are set in the way that his priorities are set, he's probably like, hey, he made it off of that block, made more money than he probably ever would have made otherwise, and he's alive.
Yeah.
Like, if you were a rational person, you would quit while you're ahead, take the money you got,
Yep.
and go just invest that shit. Just throw,
Exactly. Invested in
throw,
dividend stocks or
yeah,
something.
dude, exactly. Throw one of your millions into the stock market, and you can make enough to have like what you would make a 7% return.
You'd be
So that
fine for
would be
life.
70,000 a year on that return. And if that was in dividends, you can live off of that.
And
So
it's just crazy, man. It's like just the amount of money they make. It's like you do
dude,
realize that chain you just bought could like literally buy you out of ever having to work again in your life.
yeah, it's a food, dude. The food gaze goes so deep that it's crazy to me, man. Yeah, it's like one, that chain, you still spent too much on it, but you definitely didn't spend as much on it as you're bragging about spending on it. These people
Yep.
with
Yeah,
like
that's
they never
another
even had
thing.
a platinum out. They're
I
lying
don't
on
get that, man.
themselves. But it's like regardless, first of all, you did not spend like a million on this chain or something like that. Like you haven't even dropped an album yet. But furthermore, no matter what you did spend on that chain, if you spent 10 or 25,000, it would have been better off somewhere else. But on that point, man, I'm gonna say that I no longer blame the individual. I don't blame, that sports dude who fucks up his contract and with the car buying some shit, because that to me is the system, man. That is the systemic racism at work. Like we are somebody, like we're fucking smart, and we have had the opportunity to be educated more than the vast majority of people, even in this country, but also in the world. But even in the country, still we're more educated than the majority. So it's like, and we as smart educated people are still figuring this shit out. Like
Mm.
I'm still learning about filling out my W-4 fucking tax form and fucking allowances and deductions and all this fucking shit that I don't fucking know. And then you go and you try to Google it and the fucking descriptions don't make fucking sense.
Yeah.
And it's like we're all trying to figure this shit out. So for the people who never were even raised around it, never even like sat down and given a class, like I can't blame that person anymore. Half of these people are like younger than me. They're like
Yeah.
21-year-olds.
I mean,
And you
imagine
give
what
this
we would
20
have
year old
bought at 21. I mean, I think we would have made
I
better
know,
investments, but I think
yeah.
we would have made
Nah, I'd have
some dumb
made
investments.
some. Yeah, we'd have done a little bit of both, but that's like that would have been us who were still like, we still were definitely around better influences than a lot of these people. Like,
Sure.
and we're not even like neither one of us are well off or anywhere like close to that when we were fucking coming up. But still, it's just like it's crazy. The odds are so heavily stacked against our young men and women, and it's like, especially the entertainers, the musicians and the athletes, because then other people realize you're worth something, and so
Mm.
then they start to exploit you. An athlete, you're probably from like an impoverished neighborhood. By 12 or so, you're just tall as fuck. You're like, hey, I can do this. You start to enjoy it. But by 15, there's other scouts and people looking at you. And now by 17, you've got someone trying to be a booster and give you money and make you owe them. And now it's like if you slip up at any point and get caught, it's all worthless. So you try to be the top percent and make it to the NCAA Division One, top percent of all those Pop Warner cats and shit. And now, even then, you still have to be in the top percent again because 99% of Division One people don't play pro. So you got to be in the top percent again to make it
1%
to
or
the
1%.
pros.
Yeah.
And then, even then, those people's rookie contract, you're not signing for millions, your rookie contract. And that's a few years. So if you're like a running back or something, you only have 6, 7 years in the league on average. You probably get to sign 2, 3 contracts. You have to like, you got to make it. And if you're not one of the most popular 40 or 50 people in the league, like you're not getting sponsorships. So it's pretty fucking crazy when you think like how the odds, even at that level, you're still so comparatively disadvantaged to some other individuals who just had better opportunities from a young age, you know? And it's like we kind of look at them and like, oh, he's got all this and that. And it's like, it makes it kind of funny when you see someone fuck up their money in a bad way that way. But I'm also like, damn, that is tragic because that person worked so fucking hard,
Yep.
probably to dig themselves out of wherever they were to get there. And they've got an agent, they've got a coach, they've got a team
Sponsors. Yep.
manager, they've got GMs, they've got team owners, they have all these people around them who are seasoned multimillionaires and the owners being billionaires. And it's like you could, you know, help these people out. But look in the artist industry, artist development is gone. And I don't know about sports as much, but I feel like for the most part, it does not exist besides maybe helping people like behaviorally. But in terms of like financial management, they tell
Yeah.
you don't go get an accountant or go get this. And it's like even that person doesn't really have your best interest so much as their own. So it's a lot of trap.
And I mean, bringing up the point you said earlier too of the fact that, we're educated, but there's still a lot of stuff we don't know. I think that one thing we realize too in the rap industry or in the music industry is there's a lot of like, a lot of stuff that we still don't know even till this day. And as much as you try to research it and look for it, it's not there, There's no avenues for artists to really like learn about what the steps would be or certain things, certain loopholes or certain things they might encounter. Like it's very hard to, because nobody wants to give out the secret of their success. And I think that that's a good point, is that it's a very quiet industry. It's a very hush industry, and until you're in it, you don't really know too much about the mechanics of it. And
Mm-hmm.
when you're just trying to create art, which takes a lot of time, you're going to the studio, you're trying to find a manager. It's like you don't really have the time to be like, okay, like let me, check this contract out. Let me see what I could do. It's just like with anything.
No,
It's
yeah.
like you really have to have some inside knowledge that you might not find, at your fingertips.
Yeah, I mean, and you're an artist. Like your profession should be the art, you know? Like, yeah, you should maybe have like a basic amount of knowledge, but also like you're not going to be able to catch every loophole that like a seasoned lawyer or something put in there to trap you for the benefit of their company. That's why these people, these artists also need, they need help from other lawyers and businessmen who have their interests in mind and probably come from similar conditions and similar backgrounds as they do. But, sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Mm.
And that speaks to what I just said, but also to even your chances at getting into the game. A lot of
And
these
also
people just want to
opportunity,
leave someone.
getting
Hmm.
the right opportunity at the right time. I think that's very, even with, athletics too. I feel like, having
Hmm.
that right scout at the right time to see you, all that really
With
matters a lot.
with sports, I guess the cool thing is that it is somewhat of a meritocracy. Like, yeah, you could get fucked and just be born in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, so no one ever sees you. But like, hey, if you are 7 foot something tall, like word will spread because there's only so many of those people.
Yeah.
And if you're 7 foot, like it's some crazy thing where if you're like 6'10", you have like a point something chance. But if you break the 7 foot, all of a sudden there's like a 10% chance that you end up in the NBA. It's
Yeah. Cause
just,
like, what else are you going to do? Seven
yeah,
feet tall.
exactly. Just stand there, get a rebound, throw it up,
Like, do you like work an office job at 7 feet tall? Like, hell no.
Bro, there was someone in one of my jobs one time who was literally like 6'10", and it was just ridiculous. But he was just like the nicest guy. He was just like a nice,
You're like, you should be dunking a ball somewhere.
dude. I would walk over to his cubicle and he would just see you from a mile away because his head was just like above the cubicle. He was just so tall.
All right. And my last point here, or my last question, I guess. I mean, we touched a little bit on this. This is a question I'm going to ask you, more of a hypothetical. There's no right or wrong answer. Do you think that a rapper is an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to make it now,
Do you think
yeah.
they have to be an entrepreneur to make it now? And do you think, another question,
Mm.
do you think that rappers that are already established now are turning to entrepreneurship more than ever?
Yeah, I think you got to be an entrepreneur more now than you did before because that's just the game. And I think artists are that more now because they realize you got to put on multiple hats to get on. But I think you don't have to be because you could always just have someone on your side who does that. And I think even though it's good to be able to play multiple roles, I think the team does best when you have a team of specialists and
Mm.
you know that when you hand the rock to this dude, he's gonna make that 3 pointer, and he's there to make that 3 pointer. He doesn't worry about getting rebounds. You got a fucking 7 footer who does get those rebounds, and he passes it back to the 3 point guy to make three. So it's like if you had a team where you're just the rapper and you do your shit and you're the producer and I'm the manager and we're all still together. That's where I think you can go the farthest. And you don't really have to do everything. But in a way, you do, because where does that perfect thing ever happen? And when it happens, when does it last once all the money and shit comes in? But I think from what I heard, I have no firsthand knowledge of this, but from what I've heard from some Drake raps and shit, the first million is the hardest. And then after that, they start coming in and shit. So I guess once you already make it, then boom, you just become an entrepreneur. Like you're just making deals and whatnot. I
Hmm.
hear. We'll
Allegedly.
see. Allegedly, what they say. I'm holding you to it, Drake. If I somehow make a million and that second one doesn't come right the fuck behind, I'm gonna be pissed.
I heard it's the first 100,000. That once you get over that
Yeah.
hump, it becomes a little easier.
Yeah. Once you like have enough money to sustain yourself, life becomes it really, I mean, the money doesn't buy happiness, and that's true to an extent. But first, you have to get enough money to where you have like security and some comfort and whatnot. And then past that is all like material shit. But to a certain extent, yeah, you need money. Otherwise, you're just gonna be worried about the perils of not having money, the things that come. Yeah, it's stressful.
Yeah, man. Very interesting to talk about this stuff. I think that it's something that is certainly interesting from our perspective because we're artists too, and we also we're pretty educated, so it's interesting to
Yeah.
see how it all comes together, and it's definitely great to hear your opinion as somebody who has some prior law knowledge and business knowledge.
Thanks, man. It's great to have someone give a fuck about your opinion. Like, it's
Yeah,
awesome.
man.
Good day.
This
Sit
this
back
is
and get
all
asked
for
questions.
the YouTube land or social media land so that they can just hear what we have to say. And I think these kind of discussions need to happen so that it really will raise the question whether or not artists are authentic or not based on on these bundle deals, and I think we talked a lot about that. So, but shout out
My word. Yeah.
your album. Let them know what's on the album, what it's about. Basically, give yourself a
Okay.
plug right now.
Man, Fall River is coming, and I'm so excited for it. I think it is just my journey, and these type of opinions that you heard in this podcast, you're gonna hear the inner workings of a mind like that. And this wasn't supposed to be like any sort of a protest album, but when I look back on it, I'm so proud to say that I just made an album about like a young black man's journey and ascension through society. And that is me. And I'm going to keep on rising. The best is yet to come. Fall River is some of that best that is coming.
I could definitely confirm that. I've been lucky enough to hear it before it even got released. So I'm excited for it. Like
No, I just
I
have
want
to
him to
finish
drop it
it.
right now.
I just have to finish it. I have an exam. I got a bar exam,
Yeah,
and
man.
then I'll focus.
Yeah,
Like
man.
2 weeks, man.
You'll look back on it like, man, that was easy peasy.
Yeah, I'll be straight.
That's awesome, bro.